The rule of Silvermore. In the ancient sprawling kingdom of Silvermore, government rule was viewed as both a blessing and a curse. Silvermore was a place of towering mountains, dense forests, and shimmering rivers, and its people were known for their industriousness and unity. They shared a collective respect for the land and each other, a unity forged from centuries of shared hardship and toil. The government, known simply as the rule, was established generations ago to maintain peace and ensure prosperity. But like many things, power, when left unchecked, could become its own master. The rule was led by a council of 7, each member chosen from a different province of Silvermore. This council, called the High Table, was meant to represent the entire kingdom's interests. Each year, representatives were elected from their respective provinces by popular vote. However, over the years, the process had been tainted by ambition and secrecy. What was once a trusted body of leaders became an exclusive club of powerful families, with titles passed down like heirlooms. The High Table justified its decisions in the name of the greater good. They raised taxes, claiming the need to fund grand public works. They restricted travel, claiming security concerns. They policed speech, claiming they were protecting society's values. At first, the people tolerated these decisions, assuming the High Table knew what was best. After all, wasn't it the High Table that had defended Silvermore from the scourge of the ancient warlords? But over time, cracks in the rule became evident. Roads that were supposed to connect distant towns lay unfinished. The security forces that were meant to protect travelers increasingly turned into neighborhood monitors, checking homes unannounced, asking questions, issuing warnings. It became harder to speak out, even among friends. Whispers began to circulate that the rule had shifted from guardianship to control, from unity to domination. This unrest reached a boiling point in the small, rugged province of Torvald. Situated high in the mountains, Torvald was known for its independent spirit. The Torvaldians were miners and craftsmen who had survived the harsh winters and rock slides by relying on each other. Their governor, Lena Moreau, was a charismatic and brave leader, beloved by her people. She respected the principles of the rule, but saw the decay within it and felt the growing oppression on her people. It was Lena who first raised her voice at the High Table, calling out the corruption and decay within the rule. She delivered a speech to her province, urging her people to reclaim the original spirit of Silvermore's government, rule by and for the people. Her words struck a nerve throughout the kingdom, and other provinces started to look to Torvald as a symbol of resistance. But the High Table was swift in its response. They ordered the Torvaldian mines to be shut down, cutting off their primary source of income. They deployed security forces to Torvald, claiming they needed to maintain public order. They declared Lena a traitor to the rule, branding her as a dangerous rebel who threatened the kingdom's stability. Despite this, Lena's spirit didn't break. She knew that the rule was losing its hold over the people's hearts. She organized clandestine meetings, forging alliances with those who shared her vision of a government built on transparency, accountability, and justice. Her supporters, calling themselves the Silver Hand, were a network of messengers, miners, farmers, and scholars. They began spreading the story of the true Silvermore, the Silvermore where people had a voice, where rule was shared and just. The Silver Hand's efforts began to bear fruit. Other provinces grew inspired by Torvald's stand. Quietly, they organized, questioning their own governors, demanding change. Tensions grew, and for the first time in generations, the High Table felt the foundations of their power shaken. A year after Lena's initial speech, the people of Silvermore took to the streets in what would later be called the Silver Uprising. Armed with only banners, voices, and a fierce determination, they marched to the capital city, demanding the right to elect a new High Table, free from corruption and family ties. They demanded that Silvermore be ruled once again by the people, for the people. The High Table could no longer ignore the roar of the kingdom. Faced with the undeniable force of the people's will, they agreed to a new election, overseen by representatives from each province. The Silver Hand, with Lena as its guide, held the council members accountable, ensuring that the process would be fair and transparent. In time, a new high table was formed, made up of people from diverse backgrounds who represented the true voice of Silvermore. In the years that followed, Silvermore flourished. Roads were finished, schools were built, and trade blossomed. The people remembered the lesson of the Silver Uprising, holding their leaders to the highest standards and ensuring that the government truly served its people. The rule, once synonymous with control and secrecy, became a symbol of unity, integrity, and freedom. And as Lena Moreau passed into legend, her story became a reminder for every generation that true government rule is a sacred trust, and that the people together must hold it accountable to preserve their freedom. With time, the Silver Uprising became more than just an event in the history books. It became a part of Silvermore's culture, retold in classrooms, sung in folk songs, and commemorated every year in the Festival of the Silver Hand. This festival served as a reminder of the people's hard-won right to self-governance and of the vigilance required to maintain it. Statues of Lena Moreau and the courageous leaders of the Silver Hand dotted the kingdom, standing as silent guardians, watching over a new generation of Silvermore citizens. The new High Table, mindful of the mistakes of their predecessors, enacted reforms to prevent corruption. They created local councils within each province to ensure that even the most remote communities had a voice. These councils were not just ceremonial, they held real power, and representatives rotated frequently to prevent any one person from holding too much influence. Every child learned about the responsibility of leadership, taught not to fear authority, but to understand, question, and improve it. Under this revitalized rule, the Kingdom of Silvermore blossomed in unity and diversity, stronger than ever before. Trade routes expanded, bridges between provinces grew stronger, and cultures mingled freely. Silvermore became a model for neighboring nations, inspiring movements of reform and justice in lands far beyond its borders. And so the legacy of Silvermore became a beacon of hope, teaching that even the most deeply entrenched power could be reformed, and that the heart of government rule must always remain with the people it serves. The memory of the Silver Uprising stood as a call to action for all who might forget that true power belongs not in the hands of the few, but in the hearts of the many. As the years passed, Silvermore continued to flourish, and the memory of the Silver Uprising became woven into the kingdom's very identity. Each year, on the anniversary of the uprising, the people gathered in the capital for the Festival of the Silver Hand, where citizens of all ages and backgrounds came together to celebrate the values of justice, unity, and accountability. In every town square, statues of Lena Moreau and the original Silver Hand were honored with wreaths of silver and white, symbols of courage and purity. Songs were sung, plays were performed, and stories were told about the days when the people reclaimed their voices and stood up to power. Children learned from a young age that freedom wasn't a gift given by rulers, but a right earned and maintained by the people. Schools taught about the hard-fought battles, not with weapons, but with words and unity, showing each generation that true strength came from shared purpose and understanding. Over time, Silvermore's system of government became a model across distant lands, and travelers arrived from far and wide to learn from its counselors, to study the laws of the rule, and to carry back with them the story of Silvermore's triumph. Lena Moreau's legacy continued through the High Table's dedication to fairness and transparency, as council members remained ever conscious of the power they held and the trust they must uphold. In the end, the people of Silvermore realized that true government was not a force above them, but a light within them, guiding each generation with the values of dignity, resilience, and justice.